Hot topic of the week, artificial sweeteners. The World Health Organization have recently classified aspartame, an artificial sweetener, as a possible carcinogen, possibly cancer causing. So today we're going to go through the data, we'll talk about what it means, and at the end you can come to your own conclusion on if you want to still keep consuming your Coke Zeros or you're going to fire them into the bin. So the theme of today is, are artificial sweeteners going to kill you? Artificial sweeteners, what are they? They're low-calorie sugar alternatives, and there's many of them. There's more and more coming out every year, I feel. So you've got aspartame, which is the main one. You've got saccharin, you've got stevia, you've got sucralose. There's a ton of them. The one we're talking about at the moment is aspartame. That's what's in your Coke Zero. Now, as I mentioned, the World Health Organization have classified aspartame as a possible carcinogenic compound. How this works is it's basically lumped into three different categories. So you've got group 3, not carcinogenic, coffee, low frequency electric fields, think about your Wi-Fi, dental materials, you've got chlorinated drinking water, tea, printing inks, bit of a random list. And then moving on from there, you've got possibly carcinogenic. And that's where aspartame has been lumped into. Now, if we look at some of the examples that are already in there, you've got diesel fuel, gasoline, pickled vegetables, and another one that's not in here is mobile phone usage. So it's on the weaker side. Next, you've got group 2A, which is probably carcinogenic, anabolic steroids, high temperature frying, red meat is in there, glyphosate. And then we have group 1, which is we have sufficient evidence to suggest that this compound or agent is cancer causing. Smoking, asbestos, talc-based baby powder, you got processed meats, you got solar radiation, the things that you know already, very, very bad for your health long term. So we're down in the group 2B section. Same as your mobile phone that's sitting in your pocket for most of the day. Does that mean that you can just disregard it? No, because there's been numerous studies when it comes to aspartame and its efficacy, and some of those studies suggest that there is a link between aspartame consumption and cancer. With that, there is not a consistent effect, and there are tons and tons of studies on artificial sweeteners. In fact, 2 new studies came out over the last year or 2, both to say that there's absolutely no link between artificial sweetener consumption and cancer. I personally think that the best way to summarize this is that there's not no risk, but there's low risk. And that low risk might be considerably lower than you initially thought. You know, the media blow things way out of proportion. Now, onto the fun stuff. The Food and Drug Administration Authority, or the FDA, are responsible for creating the acceptable daily intake and limits for artificial sweeteners. And what they have capped it at is 50 milligrams per kilo of body weight per day. So we'll take myself as an example. I'm 100 kilos. The acceptable daily intake for me is 5,000 milligrams per day. Now, take a guess. How many milligrams of aspartame are in 1 can of Coke Zero? 500 milligrams? Maybe 1 gram? 2 grams? Well, there's 86 milligrams of aspartame in 1 Coke Zero, which means if I was to hit that daily upper intake limit, I would have to consume 56 cans of Coke Zero every day. Now, I don't know anybody that does that. Of course, it doesn't apply to everybody because not everybody's 100 kilos. If you're 50 kilos, it's still 28 cans of Coke Zero per day. And I can tell you, if you're drinking that much Coke Zero, the caffeine will get to you before the aspartame does. Most people I know that have diet drinks maybe have 1 Coke Zero per day, or maybe 2 if they're feeling wild. Nowhere near 56, or if you're 50 kilos, 28 cans per day. It's just not going to happen. So you can see that we're just so far away from that upper limit that it's probably not something to be as concerned about as you may have thought in the past. Now, if you don't want to consume artificial sweeteners, don't. But if you like Coke Zero, go for it, especially if it's stopping you from drinking the actual sugar alternative. A couple of other things I want to go through that crop up when it comes to artificial sweeteners as well. We'll just lay them to rest. There is a myth going around with artificial sweeteners that they actually cause weight gain. And where this comes from is the hypothesis that you consume artificial sweetener, your body thinks it's going to be getting sugar, it releases insulin and makes you fat. But we can see here in this research, a meta-analysis of 15 randomized control trials, that when people who switched full sugar drinks to artificially sweetened drinks, they lost body fat, fat mass, their waist circumference dropped, and their body mass index dropped off as well. So look, we put that to rest. Thank you, Miller and Perez 2014. And the last thing I want to cover is the naturalistic fallacy. I can't tell you how many times I've had somebody come up to me, it's usually my mother, saying, "Connor, you're a coach. You can't be drinking that stuff. It's full of chemicals." Well, we call that the naturalistic fallacy, where you think that things are natural are inherently good for you and things that are unnatural are inherently bad for you. Let's just squash that one straight away. Asbestos, natural. Penicillin, unnatural. These here are some natural organic blueberries. Now, if we look at the ingredients in a blueberry, there's things in there you would probably not be able to pronounce. I know I sure as shit cannot. So you can't just fall into the trap thinking things that are natural are good for you, things that are unnatural are bad for you, because it's a crock of shite. Now that's all from me today. To wrap it all into one, artificial sweeteners, there's not zero concern, but it's probably a lower concern than you may have thought, and especially with what the media are doing at the moment, it's been blown way out of proportion. Don't be one of those people who just say it's full of chemicals, because that means you're committing to the naturalistic fallacy. That is all from me on this one. Hope you enjoyed the video. Any questions or queries, just make sure to drop me a message. Otherwise, have a great day. See you in the next one.